Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Haji Hashemi, a graduate student in the School of Industrial and System Engineering at University of Oklahoma. Today I want to talk about the impact of asset management in a green supply chain. Companies such as Walmart may develop supply chain by cost minimization, but they generally ignore greenhouse gas emission, which is a huge threat to the environment. They generate about 42% of greenhouse gas emission in their transportation and inventory system, which makes mitigate climate change through a green supply chain management a reasonable solution. We have considering some questions and hypotheses and answer them regarding our result. Is it better to have many small stores or fewer large stores in our greenhouse gas emission system? What is different between operating cost minimization and emission minimization? Have a more warehouse in the region could affect the system? We are offering companies a system that minimizes operating and emission costs simultaneously, along with asset management to reduce their footprint in the environment with modeling a green supply chain using two-echelon K-median network partitioning and implementing compromise decision support problem construct. Regarding our results, we found that green supply chain has more small stores close to the customers because customers' car create more greenhouse gas emission than suppliers' truck. Having more warehouse and less store mitigate greenhouse gas emission significantly. Therefore, changing the business model through asset management make the supply chain greener. Global warming is an aspect of climate change, referring to the long-term rise of the planet's temperature. It is caused by increased concentration of greenhouse gas emission in the atmosphere. So it's important to see how we could reduce the greenhouse gas emission. Then we could mitigate the climate change. As we see in this chart, the transportation sector in the supply chain generate the largest share of greenhouse gas emission. This is the picture of supply chain, which is network between a company and its suppliers to produce and distribute a specific product to the final buyer. Hence, mitigate climate change through a green supply chain is really beneficial and important. The term of green supply chain refers the idea of integrating sustainable environment process into the traditional supply chain. Given an area such as a city, we want to see how should a retailer place their store in order to minimize the emission of the system. To design our system, this shows the stores, the circle shows the customers, and the rectangular shows the warehouse. We are designing, first of all, we are building a model based on population data. And also, we are modeling a green supply chain in two echelons solved simultaneously using K-median approach. The first echelon is network between a customer and a store, and the second echelon is the network between a store and warehouses. Also, we are evaluate the effect of having multiple warehouses on the overall greenhouse gas emission instead of only one warehouses. And another difference between our work and previous works is manage the incompleteness and inaccuracy of the data through implementing the compromise decision support problem construct to identify satisfying solution. This is our solution method, and also this is all our formulation regarding all our assumption, our demand, our wishes, and we are using the R programming and MATLAB programming, and as an input we used a high precision population density map of Puerto Rico, which provides population density at a resolution of 30 meter by 30 meter. This is the map of Puerto Rico, and the data was also easily in access. After implementing our formulation, we got our result. As we see here, we have three colors: red, blue, and green. Blue, a small circle blue, shows the small size store, and the red shows the medium size store. The green shows large size stores. Three colors, blue, green, red, as I mentioned, and sizes, which is small, medium, large, are used to distinguish between the stores sizes, as it can be seen here. For example, that is the east side, this is the west side. That is also the result for whole Puerto Rico. As we can see here, that is the San Juan, the crowded city. Regarding the population and the warehouse distance are the main factor impacting the result. Thus, the large store mainly located near place with high population, in this case is San Juan, largest city. And also another things, the few large store we can see here is observed here because at the location on the map boundary with an average population and large distance from the warehouse. So the data and the distance between near the warehouse is important, because considering the availability of large stores, location in this location can reduce the truck's emission to travel between this store and the warehouse. Overall, the dominant number of stores belong to a small store. Thus, for this case, it can be concluded that constructing a small size stores is more beneficial, considering the greenhouse gas emission as deciding factors. More distributed small store significantly reduce the travel distance of the customer of the store. As mentioned before, transportation plays an important role in increasing greenhouse gas emission. In here we could see two systems. This system is minimizing operating cost. This system is emission cost. When we consider to minimize the operating cost, we have fewer large stores. And here, when we want to minimize the emission, we have fewer small stores closer to the customer, as we mentioned, because the transportation, the customer driving to the store has more emission. That is the difference between the size of the store and the number of stores that we can see. And here we have two charts, which one comparing the number of open store here when we have two warehouses and when we have one warehouses. We see in total, when we have two warehouses, the orange one, the number of open store is less than when we have one store. And in this chart, we already noticed that in two warehouses, we have less number of store open. And here we could see the number of small stores are more than large or medium size, which is really beneficial in operating cost as well, because the cost of operating the smaller store is less than operating cost of medium and large stores. For closing remark, we had some question. For example, what is the difference between a system that minimizes operating costs and a system that minimizes emission costs? Supply chain with more small stores cause less emission than one with fewer large stores. Another things, when achieving the lowest operating cost is more important than mitigating greenhouse gas emission, fewer large stores are preferred than more small stores. Also, another question was have more warehouse in the region could affect the system. Absolutely. Regarding our chart, we noticed a supply chain with 2 warehouses result in reduced number of open store in large areas such as Puerto Rico. Also, the main idea of our work is to help companies to manage their assets to reduce their environmental footprint. Based on our result, this helps companies consider changing their business model to the online business that eliminate the requirements of cars driving to the store and back. The proposed solution here is not limited to green supply chain design. The concept can widely be extended to other dominants such as manufacturing, material design, healthcare, and energy transmission and distribution. Thank you so much.